Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, the Senate plans to probe the government policy towards China.
Ginagawang malaking issue ngayon, goodwill daw ng China na pinapayagan. Hindi natin tinatanggap yun.
That, sir.
No, we don't accept that. We don't. And they know that we don't.
Amid reports of Beijing's militarization in the South China Sea.
Tingin nyo magbubunga yung usapan kung every time na may disagreement, magsisigawan?
Also, the Supreme Court is set to make a final decision on the warranto case of former Chief Justice Lourdes Sereno.
Whether it's correct or wrong, we just have to accept it because that's how we can move on.
And how close are we to passing the Bangsamoro Basic Law? Senator Koko Pimentel III joins us live. And later, an entire town in California goes up for sale. But what's the catch? That's for today's In Focus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. After President Rodrigo Duterte certified the bill as urgent, lawmakers moved to fast-track the passage of the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law. Last month, the two chambers of Congress passed their own versions of the bill. They are expected to meet in a bicameral conference in June or July to iron out differences in their versions before submitting it to the President for his approval. Also, senators are now considering a probe of the government's policy towards China, and are they still keen on asking the Supreme Court to review its decision on the warranto case versus former Chief Justice Lourdes Sereno? Let's go straight to the source of the story. Finally, Senator Koko Pimentel. Senator, welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Sir, we've been inviting you.
Yes, thank you.
For a very long time. Sir, so many things to talk about. Umpisahan na po natin ang BBL.
Okay.
Because baka marami po hindi na updated dito, because when you took a break, both chambers of Congress, sir, weren't you supposed to meet sometime June 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13?
July.
July. Sorry, July 9 to 13 for the BICAM.
July 9 to 13 is the schedule for the BICAM.
Okay. So what are the preparations being done prior to the BICAM? Because you passed your version, the House of Representatives passed their own version.
Okay, so we have already named the members of the Senate panel, and I'm assuming the House has also named. So the duty now of the member of the panel is to study. Start reading now the clean copy of the Senate version and of course the House version, and then look at the differences and then try to find out what is a possible solution.
Senator, there are about what, 13 members each are there for the BICAM?
No, you can name, each chamber can name its own number. So it doesn't have to be fixed number na equal, because there will only be agreement in the BICAM if the two panels agree. So no matter the number is not important.
So does it
sa amin yata around 7 or 8.
Last I saw there were about 13 at the House of, this is a House of Representatives, sir, from...
So okay, so if they have 13,
okay,
when there is now an issue, the majority of the 13 will now bind the House panel. So if we have, let's say, 9 or 7, the majority of our membership will now decide for the Senate.
What's the final number for the Senate, sir?
I've forgotten, but there were names mentioned. So
okay,
maybe 9.
9, yeah, more or less, sir. So the contentious issues, can we just enumerate them one by one? For you, sir, there's something I read about what is called the opt-in provision, sir, that there would be a plebiscite every 5 years.
Some people call that creeping expansion. I call it periodic plebiscite. So we have eliminated that. So there will only be one in the Senate version. Let me just talk about the Senate version. I'm not so familiar yet with the House version. In the Senate version, we have eliminated the requirement for a periodic plebiscites. So meaning to say, there will only be one plebiscite. That is whether to approve or not the BBL.
Okay.
And then areas approving the BBL, that is now the fixed region for the BBL. No more possible enlargement of the region in the future.
No more inclusion in the future?
No more. That's it. So the entire concept of periodic plebiscites has already been eliminated in the Senate version.
But it's-
and I heard that also in the House.
Oh, so it's also out of the House version.
That's what I heard.
So what would be the most contentious issues that will be talked about during the BICAM in July, sir?
One is that the Senate changed the presentation of the powers for the BBL. In the House, they have retained the idea of the national government preserving powers for itself. The regional government, the BBL, getting delegated power. And then the middle ground are the shared powers.
Okay.
That is the
Parang model.
ano tawag mo doon? That's how the House divided the powers, the distribution of powers. In the Senate, we just said that these are the devolved powers of the region. Period. So, if not devolved, retained by the national.
So, can you give us an example, sir? So, something easily understandable and digestible. Paano yung Senate version sa devolution of or distribution of power?
Well, sinabi lang namin, there's a section, the following are the devolved powers of the region.
Okay.
Then if a power is not enumerated in that section,
Hindi siya kasi-
where does the power belong to? It's in the national
government.
Yun po yun.
Okay.
So ang dami doon, like for example, imposition of the terminal fees, mga ganun lahat. Marami po doon ng ano, tinanggal yung sa energy, for example. Mga ganun. So,
But what happens to there was also, sir, a question on the ARMM letting it go. Number one, sir, if it will be constitutional, paano ho ba yung pag-shift?
I believe it is constitutional because the BBL is the successor of the ARMM.
Papalitan niya si ARMM.
Papalitan niya si ARMM. And the ARMM is the autonomous region for that Muslim-dominated area in Mindanao provided for in the Constitution. So, continuous and then there's this continuity, there's this still an autonomous region, but we're calling it the Bangsamoro region, so autonomous region. So
Autonomous region of Bangsamoro, yeah.
autonomous region in Bangsamoro, in
Right.
the Bangsamoro.
Yeah.
So, ganun. So I don't know if in the change of the name there should be a constitutional issue because the concept is the same. This is an autonomous region in Muslim-dominated Mindanao.
Ganon din naman.
Part of Mindanao. So it's the same.
Yeah, but it's the same with the concept, sir, of expanding power, sir. It's a more encompassing, siguro.
Actually, ganito. Enhanced. From the point of view of the senators, we are giving the same autonomous region an enhanced autonomy. So in what sense?
Pinalawak, yeah. Okay.
Pinalakas pa.
Pinalakas.
Pinalawak o pinalakas. Or pinabuti. In what sense? For example, the resources that will now be given to the region. So, in amount, more. Kasi there will now be how many sources? Like, there is this block grant. 5%, sa version namin, 5% of a certain pie, that's black grant. And then there is this special development fund for 10 years, 5 billion a year. Punta doon. So, and then whatever local revenue they generate, 50-50 in due time. I mean, but for a certain grace period, kanila muna 100%.
For the
Then natural resources found there, if they can exploit them, kanila. That there are two regimes, one regime 50-50, one regime 100-0, kanila 100%. Ganon. So, plus, ito pa, and this is now the experiment, which is very, very interesting. Plus, we allowed this region to adopt its preferred system of government, parliamentary. Yun ang bago. Kasi yung giving of resources, ano na yun eh, the concept is already there and it's already known to us. It's just that we're adding more resources.
So yung political unit.
Yeah, the new system of government is the novel idea.
So again,
parliamentary.
So pwede ho ba yun na parliamentary yun habang the rest of the country, I know it's an autonomous region, sir, is still Not parliamentary.
Sa palagay ko. Kasi, why are we distinguishing this region from the rest of the country? So,
Why?
Kaya, because it's different. Supposed to be different. And the solution is we're giving it local autonomy. What's the meaning of local autonomy if we cannot even allow them to choose a system which they believe is more applicable or apt for their culture, for their system, and for the way they do things. So ako, in the spirit of local autonomy, I'm willing to allow them to choose their system of government.
Their type of government. Yeah.
And they chose parliamentary.
But yeah, kasi sir, umikot naman ho kayo talaga doon. Pero I guess the question is, when something like this is brought up to the Supreme Court, it's as if you have one Philippines, but you have two types of government. Parang gano'n.
Yes. So that's why.
I wonder if that would be constitutional.
Because it's our Constitution in Article 10 says that there should be autonomous regions if the people in the area so want, if they approve in a plebiscite. So what's the mean? So that's how so if the challenge is brought to the Supreme Court, that is how maybe the respondents will argue that what is the meaning of local autonomy?
Yeah.
So autonomous ka, and yet you have to, your hands are tied to follow even the details on how to run your government, on what form of government you can have.
But aren't you just really just somehow separating it from the entire Philippines, as if?
It's not us, it's in the Constitution. So matagal na pong kinilala that there are some areas in our country which are different from the rest because maybe because of their culture, maybe because of religion. Religion influences culture, or their history as a people,
But
as a tribe, or as a...
Isn't this setting a bad precedent, sir, or a bad precedent?
Well, it's in our Constitution, so determined already way back in the 1980s that this should be allowed. So we are just implementing the Constitution, and actually we have implemented it, and we are still one country, one nation, one country, one state. So I think we can have this system, we can allow this system to continue, and there's no danger. And because we also put some safeguards there.
And you don't think that's confusing, sir?
No, I don't think people are confused because it's in the Constitution.
But yeah, not everybody knows what's in the Constitution.
That's why we should. Okay, that's why we should actually study the Constitution. Maybe even in basic education.
Yeah, it's at school.
Meron na dapat ganun na subject siguro, the Constitution and you. Parang ganon. So,
okay, para na naiintindihan din ang
na po.
mamamayan. Sir, what about, mabilis lang, so, ito po, before we leave the issue on the BBL, police force, military, and papaano
okay. Yun na nga, the Senate solution is that, to be really very, very clear about it, okay? Police force, it will be a regional police force. Parang sa amin, kami sa Mindanao, Northern Mindanao, Region 10, merong Police Regional Office 10. So ganun din Police Regional Office Autonomous Region in Bangsamoro, ARB. So ganun. Same with the military. Ang military pala, they do not really organize it, the military per region. Command yan, by command. So the military can adjust their command structure to have also a ARB command. Yeah. Same with COMELEC, same with COA, and same with civil service and with CHR. Ganun pong gawin natin.
All right. So are you confident, though, as the last question on the BBL, sir, that it will be ready for the President's signature prior to or during the SONA, the State of the Nation address?
Yan, that is ano na yan, practicality na yan tanong dyan, but it will be passed soon, because to be ready by SONA, that means that we should be able to insert an item in our agenda in the morning of that day,
Of the SONA.
approving a BICAM report.
Dapat nandun na yun,
Which is unusual, but which can be done.
But unusual, but can be done. So
But
you're
can be
still
done.
not so sure about this.
So
All right.
depends on the July 9 to 13 sessions.
All right. We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, will there be new names on the proposed PDP Laban Senate slate? Senator Koko Pimentel will still be with us after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senator Koko Pimentel. Sir, resolution by Senator Trillanes and Senator Bam Aquino wanting to look into the Senate, into the installation of such China's missile systems in the Spratly Islands. It seems like Senator Lourdes Legarda, who is heading the Foreign Affairs Committee, is keen on doing this. What is do you support this?
I mean, it depends on the chair, and if the chair wants to hear it, and I think we should hear it, because the Senate should play a more active part in the formulation of the foreign policy of our country. In some other countries, their Senate plays an important. In Mexico, for example, it is the Mexican Senate which determines the foreign policy, and it's for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to implement or execute the policy formulated by the Senate. But in the Philippines, actually, it's really the patterned after the United States kasi tayo. It's really the president, the executive branch. The participation of the Senate is only in concurring in the ratification of treaties already entered into by the executive branch. So, lahat ng initiatives in the executive branch. But since our Constitution already hints that the Senate has a role in foreign policy, then we should also be hearing our issues or concerns regarding foreign relations, for international issues.
So you support this, but I guess the next question, sir, is why didn't you guys do this much earlier?
There was no resolution yet, because there's also a process being followed in the Senate. Diba? There must be a resolution to initiate hearings or investigation.
Right.
So now that there is a resolution, it is now addressed to the good judgment of the chairman or the chairperson.
What are your thoughts, though, on this militarization in the South China Sea? Number one, do you believe it is militarization? Number two, do you see this as a threat, sir, to the Philippines?
Yeah, militarization, we need more facts, because we need more pictures, maybe we need more information. But of course, the island building, that's a fact. Militarization is the use of the islands built, so we need more information. And then whether those were made for us again or to be used against us, I do not think so. Hindi na kailangan, because we are already neighbors.
What, friends with them?
Hindi lang ganun, we're already neighbors. They don't need an island as an intermediate stop for the Philippines. But we are, tama the fact that you pointed out that we are already close friends with China.
But when you said that we need more facts, I understand what you mean by that, sir, but very recently we already saw a video of the landing of a bomber plane in Woody Island that is in the Paracel Islands up north, not something we're not claiming. But if you talk to experts, it's saying that any missile launched from Woody Island can cover the whole of Philippines, including the other side of the Philippines, which is Benham, sir.
Oh, well, any missile launched from mainland China, I think, can already reach the Philippines. So if we are protesting because of an island, no, I think it's not a missile, it's the bomber.
The bomber plane, sorry.
If we are protesting because a bomber there's now an island built where a bomber can now reach Philippine territory, then by using the same logic, when China developed the ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, then we should have also protested, because an ICBM can already reach the Philippines.
Yeah.
Same thing.
But you're looking at a bomber plane at Woody Island, and you're looking at militarization in the Spratly Island, sir.
Basta ganito, okay, island building confirmed. We have already seen the pictures. But the purpose for the islands, we need more information, and maybe the Senate hearing can.
Yeah, but what are you thinking about why? As a senator of the Republic of the Philippines, why are they militarizing the Spratly Islands?
Hindi, yun ang tanong, are they militarizing? But they're building islands for
Sorry,
what
okay,
purpose?
kasi
Kaya
ayaw niyo pa sabihin yun.
ang point, if you read their official pronouncements, number one, they're just developing their territory. They could allow now ships in distress, some landing sites, mga ganon.
Yeah.
So,
Do you believe it?
Possible. That's why we need more information. So, more pictures, more information,
Okay.
more analysis and data.
And maybe then you can give a better judgment on this, sir. But what about just, of course, one highlighted siguro plight of our fishermen very recently? You know, the Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano was saying that we don't need to ask an apology from China regarding their Coast Guard getting the catch of the Filipino fishermen. Sir, what are your thoughts on that? Is it harassment? Do you think it was harassment?
I have not seen the video yet, but you know, if it's forced, then you know, if they were forcing the exchange, that is not good. And they should, I think we should, being friends with China, we can request the Chinese government to investigate the incident.
They will,
and then
sir.
give us a report
Yeah.
of their findings.
The Chinese ambassador
ganun na
said
lang po.
they will.
But I don't think some people say na because of that incident file another case.
Yes.
I mean you do not just file cases just because there is an incident. So but we can.
So when do you file cases? You said you just do not file cases when there's an incident.
We file cases, for example, because of that 9-dash line. We filed a case in the International Tribunal. Ganun, because that's claiming as internal or territorial waters an entire sea close to our country. So we file a case because of that. But if there was an incident, let's say, of alleged Chinese Coast Guard personnel forcing the exchange, the catch in exchange for cigarettes ba yun?
Yeah,
and
water.
Pero
Yung iba wala exchange, sir. Ha?
wala
At least that
exchange.
was-
So that's
the
already,
fishermen saying.
if not theft, that's even robbery. So
Yeah.
we should now use our good friendly ties with China to ask them to and in due time I believe it will come.
Do you feel,
the
sir,
investigation.
do you feel that government is doing enough with the plight, let's say, the fishermen, the bill, sige, you don't want to call it militarization, the building of artificial islands in the Spratly Islands, sir. Are we doing enough? Is the Philippine government doing enough? Is the Foreign Affairs Department doing enough?
I've already talked to Secretary Alan Cayetano, and he says that a protest in international law can take the form of a written protest or a verbal protest. And he says that they're doing this.
And you believe that, sir?
Yes. That's already our foreign secretary
No.
telling me. And then he says
I understand that, sir.
they are not just announcing each and every time that they make a protest.
Yun naman ang sinabi ni Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano. He was here last week, sir. Sinabi nga niya na verbal and written are basically the same. In fact, he didn't want to call what happened to the fishermen as harassment because diplomacy calls it an incident. Incident po ang tawag niya doon.
That's an incident. So, pero yun nga, but pag tayo nagdi-discuss, since we're not diplomats din naman, and then of course, ang ano natin, when we assume that this happened, so we have our own conclusion.
So, but do you think China should apologize for that incident, sir? He's a fisherman.
As a state, hindi naman siguro na kailangan as a state, but somehow siguro, maybe we should just request them to investigate the incident and
Give us a report.
give us a copy of their conclusion.
Yeah.
Of their report.
Para alam naman natin kung anong findings, sir. All right, we will taking another short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senator Koko Pimentel. Sir, Senate President Soto is recommending a charter change through what he calls a hybrid constitutional body. Just to give the viewers a brief background on this, he's saying that we can do charter change through a constitutional body composed of 12 senators, 12 congressmen, 12 nominees of the president, and 12 from the public. What do you think of this, sir?
Well, the Senate President is trying to solve a deadlock because, according to him, he feels that a CONCON, as Constitutional Convention, as we commonly understand it, made up of elected officials, would be too time-consuming, too expensive, etc. And then, sabi niya, and then the Constituent Assembly, that means Congress, is not trusted by the people. Okay, so he's trying to solve that deadlock or impasse. So he came up with this idea.
Pwede ba yan, sir?
It's a unique proposal, but could still be questioned before the Supreme Court.
Is it constitutional? Is my question, sir.
Yeah, it will be questioned in the Supreme Court, and it might fail the constitutionality test.
Do you support it, though? Are you open to that?
I am more in favor of Congress proposing the amendments. That's why I told the Senate President, Senator Soto, sabi ko, who told you? Who told you that the people do not want Congress to propose amendments to the Constitution? Because actually the Senate has a high trust and approval rating, and the second highest when I was still Senate President ever. And the House under Speaker Alvarez, believe it or not, has achieved its highest ever, highest ever trust and approval rating from the people. So, sabi ko,
so you're saying CONAS could have worked, could work.
Could still work.
Yeah.
Could still work.
But of course, we still have the CONCOM working on this. Sir, while we're on the subject of the Senate President, I need to get your reaction on this. He's kind of making noise online because of his request to have 2 articles in the Philippine Daily Inquirer removed. This is the Pepsi Paloma case. The rape of Pepsi Paloma, #1, and #2 was Pepsi Paloma murdered. What do you think? Tama ho ba si Senate President to request this?
Yes, I understand. Sometimes it's really unfair that because one feature of the internet is permanence. Once published online, it's permanent. So there must be a way for someone affected by an opinion, especially available in a very popular website like the Inquirer website. So this person should be allowed to request a deletion of the said article painting him in a negative light.
Okay.
You know, in other countries, they have already recognized the right to forget.
Yun ang tawag.
Right to forget. Kasi otherwise, because of the permanence
feature of
the internet.
Okay, very quickly, sir, your senatorial lineup, buo na ho ba? O sobra pa rin?
I have no news about the senatorial lineup. What we have mentioned in the past,
yung pa rin. There's about 20 of them. And masasagot mo ba very quickly yung Senate resolution on CJ Sereno, sir? Paano mo ba yan?
Well, signed by 14 senators, not formally passed by the Senate, hence there is no Senate resolution.
Wala pa.
Yet.
All right. Senator Koko Pimentel, sir, maraming salamat po sa inyo. Good to see you, sir. At alam ko, mas makakapahinga na ata kayo.
Anytime, Pinky.
Ayan, anytime. Pag maging Senate President, anytime pa ulit, sir. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.